Welcome back to the Netrunner World 2024 Championship. We have just about wrapped up the day, and I'm joined by our finalist, D. How's it going? What a great game.
I think I might have the largest differential between losers finals, losers finals and grand finals.
What do you mean?
Like, my game against Sokka lasted approximately 2 minutes.
Yeah.
My game against Arizon lasted
an hour plus, I think.
hour plus. We'll find out, I guess.
Yeah, what a fun game. It started really slow. I think it was an hour, and then things continued to progress. We're 6-6, that last hybrid release. How was the hand? I think he was missing agendas in HQ, right?
Yep, 3 and 7. It was literally as close to a 50-50 as you could get.
Yes.
What a good way to end. I was considering being like real spike and showing and then having him pick, but I wanted the surprise in case someone saw the hybrid. And it was so good because he accessed the hybrid, though, yeah, he trashed the moon pool.
Yes.
And I thought about shuffling back moon pools with the spin doctor.
Yeah.
And I decided I wanted to just put in 2 unknowns to make Arizon really question life choices. Yes. Because at any point could have run archives. There was never anything there. I kept it vegan.
Archives was totally empty.
Totally empty.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't know that.
No, we have no idea.
Yes, archives was totally empty. So I keep that empty. I was like, because I knew that was how I lose with 2 spin doctors on the table. So I never shuffle. But with the spindo, I wanted to see if I could provoke Arizon to run R&D, which has a lower agenda density. So I put in 2 unseen to think, oh, maybe R&D is where they are. There is a world in which Arizon uses Quetzal, trashes Coalescence to get another Coalescence, is put on 5 credits, and can get through both Quetzal and get through both Tattoo Bola and Anansi with 0 credits remaining.
Yeah.
And maybe the appeal of a credit perfect win would have been too much for him.
Man, really, really fun. This is a deck. So we were talking before coming into Worlds, whether you want to play this P or something else. You ended up on this P, and this is something from the testing group on QTM. This is a known quantity, the Loud deck. What can you tell? Because people are obviously going to be trying this on JNet Casual for the next couple months before Personal Evolution leaves.
Sorry.
It's a weird deck to play. It's not the most easy thing to pick up. What could you advise to people who are seeing this?
So the way I put it, I think I've put it before, is I couldn't find a deck for Worlds that I liked, so I just picked a deck that everyone hates.
Yeah.
And like everyone before I played the second, probably before that finals, hated that deck because like it's doing. Firstly, everyone who hates PE hates the deck, but everyone who likes PE finds like some of the choices I made really peculiar.
They're interesting choices.
They're really interesting, and I kind of did them for the less than strategic reasons. There was something. So the original list that Frogs published had fully operational in it, and I wasn't enjoying the fully operational, and I wanted to cut it for influence, and I wanted one of those influence to be a Crisium. And what I then realized was I had 1 Crisium, 1 Hollow Man, 1 Mavirus, and so if I put a Tranquility home grid in there, I'd get exactly 1 upgrade from every single faction. So it
For
made
the
like,
perfect synergy.
yeah, so it made like a nice little rainbow. And it was amazing because every single one of those upgrades in that final game played a role.
Yes.
You had
they're
the
very
Mavirus
important.
in the really early game put in Archives, was protecting the Hollow Man in Archives. You have the Crisium in HQ, which was doing bluffing duty. And then at the end, I don't know if you caught this, when I install the Moonpool, I draw a card. When I drew the card on the Tranquility, had I drawn any agenda there,
You could have scored out immediately.
I could have scored out a Sting.
Yes.
Because I had 2 agendas at the time. So, like, every card was playing a role.
Yeah.
And, like, now I kind of just love those 4 cards together. So it was, like, for aesthetic more than strategic reasons. But, like, they all felt good. And I liked having more upgrades because I think Hollow Man needs bluffing potential in order to work. Like, a good player is just going to be like, no, Hollow Man. Like, see me at, especially, like, if I was in the finals, if I don't have that Crisium around, especially, I put the Hollow Man on the central, and there's, like, this open question. And Arizon,
We saw that. It was the Archives Holloman in the early game.
yes, and Arizon thought it was a Crisium.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really...
We did too.
Yeah, really. I thought that was a really obvious play because my sort of thought, if it's Crisium, I really want it on HQ in order to prevent Fenris and Burner.
Burners, yeah.
There's still 1 burner when I put it down. And if I have it on archives, the idea was I was telling Arizon, you can get this. You have to run archives. When you purge, I'm going to start pushing behind the Vampire Nasa that exact turn. And I just sort of let it sit. And I thought that was the reads. I was like, okay with that being a known quantity then. And this is where the Chrysium like was so helpful. But like this deck is so complicated. I didn't enjoy any other. Well, I liked all my games, but this was like the game where it came together, and that felt so nice, especially at the end, to like put it off with like this deck. And now it's part of Netrunner lore. I was joking to Arizon that we're gonna have to play this matchup like on JNet.
Yes, this is going to be like the classic snapshot at some point.
2024 meta.
Yeah. It's a very strange 2024 meta right now. This is wild. We got to see the player cams, right? Like the game started slow. I think you had the Fuji in archives just sitting very calmly there trying to play it cool until you score the 4-point sweep, and then you see Arzon says, okay, wait, I have to put the gas on now.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Great
this
start.
is a game.
Yes,
like
suddenly a game.
Like if I don't get a Fuji, and I knew this from like games I've tested with QTM, if you do not get a Fuji off early, if you don't have those 4 points, like you can get, your opponent just plays so slow. Once you're there, you're like, okay, I just need 3 scores and then it's done. And then there's a game, and it was really interesting. I was able to dole out the multi-axis. I was able to keep DJ Steve at bay by turning him into DJ Quetzal.
Quetzal was sick too. Yeah, we saw that too, and I think you reacted like, "Oh, that's great. I like this." Yeah, that's awesome. We're gonna get to another interview really shortly. Do you want to throw some words maybe to those at home? You had that really nice list on the table of all the folks who can't be here today. That I think we'd all love to be able to be here today. Is there anything you want to shout out?
I miss you all. You all are my backbone. You keep me grounded, and I really appreciate that. If you're playing decks, just play the cards that you think are fun. Like, you'll figure out how to make it work as you go, especially in a 70-minute untimed game. You'll just sort of, you just work it out as you go along.
You have the time to figure out. That's fantastic. Dee, once again, congratulations. That's such a fantastic game. And with that, we'll be back in just a bit with an interview with Arzon. Don't go anywhere.
Cheers.
Welcome back here to San Francisco. Just wrapping up the World Championship. My name is Andre, and I'm joined by Alex, our 2024 World Champion. How's it going? How are you feeling?
Surreal, but
yeah,
good.
Right?
So fun fact to start off.
Yeah.
This is my first win at a standard event ever.
Like first tournament win.
First tournament win ever.
Wow.
Even at a small GNK.
Get out.
Vancouver is full of sharks.
I know. The West Coast is quite something else.
I've done second multiple times, but never. I've gone to grand finals, but never a win. This is the first win. It's pretty good.
Good first
pretty
win.
good first win.
Yes, yes. Welcome. We saw some fantastic decks. So, when did you first playing this? I saw this at NPC Boston. I've been on JNet constantly over the last couple of months. You've been grinding this specific runner deck, which is so interesting, so explosive, so cool. It is definitely very you, which is a cool thing to see here at the World Championship. Winning it with something that you built yourself. What can you tell those at home about this? This is something that's going to show up on JNet 50 cards. You got to figure this out.
Yeah. The 50 cards, it kept growing over time, and the ratios kept changing. But I will say, like, it started from Jason Sid 7.
Okay.
Just kept destroying us with just Rhaegar Asana and Fazarum and Muse and all the fun tricks.
The tricks.
All the tricks. And it just kept solidly doing well all the time. And at the time, I was like playing some deep dive lat. And I'm like, what if we just put the two together? what if you deep dive but using the Phasarums and like using the tricks and things like
Yes.
that? So kind of started there. I started testing a little bit with like Jason on like one evening, right before Boston. And just like won like 9 of 10 games. And so like, there's maybe something here. Let's try it out. So
And it just kept going because
it just kept going.
I've seen different iterations
Yep.
of this. I think
Yep.
Mayfly maybe at some point.
Yeah.
There was,
Yeah.
I'm not sure how different it was than NPC Boston, but you've been iterating on this.
Yeah, this has kind of been the core forever. It's been on like Gauss and Euler as the default
The core
breakers.
shell, yeah.
That's been there for a long time. Like the 3 trick shots, all that. It's been on the Spree and Pichashao from the start.
People are excited to see Spree. We didn't see it in this
I
matchup, which
know.
like one left from damage, but obviously
Hey,
such
I
a
drew
cool
a card. I drew a card. At
Yes.
least it was a dead event, not
It's
a
a
dead
free
event
card, yeah.
But yeah, I think I was playing versus some random person on JNet, and they just demolished me with like a Spree and a Botulus. I'm like, huh. I wonder if like
There's something here.
because it's kind of the weird thing is like once we're like, okay, if we're going all in on the deep dive and we're going on like disposable breakers that aren't like long-term value because you just need 1 or 2 explosive turns.
Yeah.
Then you start thinking, okay, well now UAV doesn't make sense. You don't want to like put Cubons up and down.
Yeah.
And if you're cutting UAV, then it's like, well, what are you doing with all these Trojans?
Like, yeah.
And so you start playing a different set of Trojans. And the Trojans you don't play in Arsana, like Botulus, because it doesn't work with UAV, don't matter as much
Because of the
anymore.
virus clause.
Yeah, that was a really big deal. And I found that just like there was no really good answer for big barriers other than Botulus in like anything.
Right now
Like,
in
if
standard.
if they somehow get a 14 strength logjam on you, like what else you could do?
No. Yeah. When it comes to this meta, because you said
Yep.
14 strength logjam, and like that is not
Yep.
something that would be, not you'd see that, right? Like today we've seen things like that.
Yeah.
Going into this modern meta, going into
Yeah.
this world, this is obviously the thing you've been testing. Was this specifically well tuned for this world? It seems like it was.
I tried to be a bit. So
Okay.
the difference between the Boston to this is it went up in deck size, which meant it gained a little bit more money, and it gained the Parisha.
Okay.
Like the Parisha was the last big change to the deck. Was that I just kept running into like asset matchups and other asset matchups. I didn't have enough money, so I was like, okay, I'll put in a couple more daily casts. I'll put in that. And then once you're up to that bigger deck size to keep the ratio of like everything right, you put in the 1 SMC.
Nice foil SMG too.
And part of I will literally say part of the excuse was I got these brilliant foil SMCs from Andrej in Montreal at NPC Montreal this year, and I just wanted an excuse to put one in the deck.
They're nice. I'm glad you're playing them.
Yeah.
They showed up
Yeah.
well on stream.
Yeah. There was even like some weird, silly plays where now that you have Parisha down and you don't want to like put it on a Muse, like,
Yeah.
okay, trick shot, everything's so cheap, so I'll like Muse for the SMC to get the Parisha and just be like that way you can leave it on the table
Yeah,
permanently.
it's convoluted, but it gets onto the
and
table.
if you have like an M testing going, it still pops that so fast.
Yes, that's quite nice.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see this again. I've seen you grinding this for a while. DJ into Quetzal, was that something you were expecting going into this matchup?
Not for this matchup.
Yeah.
I did it in a fair bit of other matchups.
Sure.
Like I used it versus an egg infusion to help get through bronze with less clicks. So I could click through it, but not all the clicks.
Very cool.
So that if they boot me away, I could then go back. Maybe at that point I'm spending credits, but for the first run I don't, and just keep making them trash the ice. I used it like that in that matchup. One of the weird things is of like those bottom 4 cards was my propeller. So I have a
Yeah.
propeller and a Gauss.
Yeah.
And like I don't really want to use up a sound chip unless I have to. And I got stuck in a situation where I couldn't use it for the Gauss. So I'm just like, I guess
This is the option that's
I guess
here.
this is a barrier breaker.
Yes, and D was very excited to see it. I think we were told after when you were running HQ there, you were missing like 1 and 3s, 1 and
Yeah.
2 and 5s.
Yeah.
Like the agendas had to be somewhere, and you're just not finding it.
Yeah. So the thing is, D had gone quite a while without scoring a hybrid release.
Yeah.
And then scored one of the two. So I knew that, okay, at least the hybrid releases aren't in hand, and that's the lose condition right now.
Exactly.
Or ending on low hand size for like moon pooling a blood and water or something like that.
Yeah, it can be a problem.
Yeah. So there's like happy in these cases where like I clicked like credits on like last click because it's like, well, on 4 cards, if that one unknown card is the moon pool or the blood and the water, that's a win. But 5 cards, even like nothing
Fine.
but nothing could be scored unless it was another 1-pointer. So yeah.
Which is getting scary there at the end. That
it was
for
so
those who are
bad.
watching,
Yeah.
that was the last click
Yeah.
possibility on
Yeah.
HQ. You had to steal
Yeah.
the agenda there,
Yeah.
otherwise hybrid hits the table.
Yeah. I think one thing that that could have made that a better, I think, for D at that last point, is when I ran that spin doctor, the click beforehand.
Yeah.
I only had 1 credit, so D didn't need to
Have to
res
crack
or
it?
crack it.
Oh, right.
But once they did, then I'm like, okay, it's last, like, we're in sudden death.
Yes.
There's no too many
There's
cards
cards
were
in
just
hand.
drawn. They were
Yes.
drawn. So now you just had to go. I was thinking, do I run through and take the damage, or do I actually break with the Ika? But like, well, the one, like the weird chance where there's
If you hit the snare exactly, I
I
think you
don't hit the
flatline.
snare. Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
think I was actually more worried about ending on like 3 cards and then Moon like Blood in the Water, or like ending on 2
Right.
cards and Blood in the Water.
Yeah.
So
Super
yeah,
exciting.
that was
It started slow.
wild.
I think we're talking about D, right? It starts slow, and then suddenly 4 points comes out of nowhere. Or are you playing Rubber Genesis? That's always a
that
jump
happened
scare.
in Swiss the exact
Yeah.
same way.
Did you two match up before? Or?
Yeah, we played in Swiss. We played that same matchup before. It went a little bit faster.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to 6, but yeah, they regenesised out Fuji. I had already gotten like 3 points at that point. I got the Blood in the Water.
Nice.
And once the Blood in the Water was out of the game, there's only one of them, that really changed a lot of lines. Like this game felt so different because the Blood in the Water was in play. I was thinking about it constantly.
Yes. It's really
Yeah.
scary. Again, open
Yeah.
deck lists.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of open deck lists in
Yep.
Netrunner. And
Yep.
even the one of, obviously, the least likely card to see is the most impactful card you have to play around the whole thing.
Yeah, because if you don't see it yet, it's not out of the game.
Speaking
Yeah.
of open deck lists, did we see you playing Reality Plus at all on stream this weekend?
No, I played 2 games on stream, both with
Okay.
Arasana versus Jinteki.
I imagine at some
Yeah.
point this list is going to end up somewhere. Can you
Yeah.
explain the list really quickly for those following along at
so
home?
I do want to say big thank you to Tuno for the original
Yes.
version of this list. And then also someone who I've never met in person who went by Lifeline on JNet or on Netrunner DB.
If you're watching, well done.
They posted a list called R plus in this economy that played at EA Regionals, which I don't even know what that was.
Okay.
But it went undefeated. They only got 8th overall, but it went undefeated. And it was more or less this list with 3 changes I made from my own testing.
And this is the 49 version. This is the kill combo and
Yeah,
and
so
the
it's 49
line
version, yeah.
Mindscaping.
So the big versions compared to the smaller tuna one, people know that one, is this is on 3 Beals, which gives it way more of a score out plan.
I've seen you scoring out in more games than not.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Cool.
You need the original tuna list just kills people who aren't safe. This list is a little bit more tuned to try to create like no-win forks where there actually isn't a right play unless you see it a turn ahead of time, and like
And stop it
you're
from-
trying to stay careful for everything they could do before they do it. So
Oh,
you have to
cool.
you have to be thinking about like, you know, when the credits are low, do the lines that open you up to the kill, so that when the credits are high, you don't get opened up to those lines and things like that.
Reality Plus seemed to be
Yep.
like, I would say, a bit of a sleeper hit coming into this World Championship.
Yeah.
It was the second most maybe
Yep.
represented identity, and that wasn't something we saw across the continental season.
Yeah.
NBN did quite well, obviously winning the World Championship. Is this, again, another meta-tuned deck, or is this just something that was working for you to date?
I think this was a bit more of a meta-tuned deck. I will say that the runner deck to beat felt like it was lat
Yep.
on all these stone ships.
That's what it looked like.
Which is even teched for this matchup. But I actually found in playing versus people in Vancouver who play that list very well, that list could defeat everything else I tried. This one could at least play high variance lines versus that list.
That can be just good enough.
Yeah, it was you go quick. It's knowing the lines with what you can do with false lead. Like there was one game in Swiss where I single advanced tomorrow's headline on a maze. I had 2 false leads scored, and they thought that might be what it was, but they couldn't touch it
Yeah.
without dying until they got more points. The next turn, I double advanced it, got to 3, passed back to them, double false leaded,
the turn.
then took a full turn to just mindscaping,
Yes.
end of the line.
False lead is just such a warping
yeah.
card, and get that
Yeah.
score, the whole game changes if you
Yeah.
never played around it. You have to be very careful on when you spend your clicks. That's wild. Again, I think I've seen you score out a fair bit across this top cut.
Okay, the other thing that made this easier to score out with is one of the 3 card changes I made was I put a Lady Liberty in the deck,
Oh, sick.
which I think was actually a really good choice for this deck because you can use it to score a surprise false lead.
And then they have to deal with it immediately.
And then like if that could have been a false lead in a row, they didn't check, right?
Yep.
Same thing. You've paid 2 more credits, but now they're paying 4 to trash it, opening themselves up to an oppo after you have a false lead, or
if they leave it.
they run HQ a ton to get rid of the other agendas. You don't have agendas in hand; you have beholds in hand.
Yeah,
They don't
reality,
know.
reality Plus, they
Exactly.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
There's
sick.
even times where I've rezzed it when I have like a 2-pointer in hand, but it's like a tomorrow's headline that I kind of want them to hit, and just beholds in hand, and be like, if you don't, I'll get it. But if you do come into
Yes.
HQ, like this is
The
this
no
is-
winning
This
lines
is a
play.
trap play. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's so wild. Again, I'm not sure if we saw some on stream. We've seen a lot of people play Reality Plus
Yeah.
and NEH kill combos, and they've done really well today at Worlds this
Yeah.
whole weekend. Absolutely fantastic. It's been such a long weekend. You had a fantastic. This is undefeated top cut. That is obviously
Yep.
something pretty incredible. Some
Yeah.
phenomenal
Even
opponents.
like just today, I haven't taken a official loss. I did play a game out after I took an ID.
Oh right,
But like today started with I faced Will as my first match.
soccer for those who don't know.
Yeah, Sokka. And I just had to play the high variance lines. Had a turn where I had like a burner, a deep dive in hand, and no breakers or anything, but just went, and there was ice and R&D I couldn't deal with. But went burner HQ, saw a basalt in a clearinghouse. Clearinghouse got thrown away at the bottom, basalt on top. Anacam draws me my answer to get into R&D.
Sick.
Muse, Fazarian through Whoredom, keep going, keep
Shaper
going, deep
tricks,
dive.
yes.
Just 6 points out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big 3-pointers that can connect really well.
Yeah, that was wild.
That's wild. What were you going into today in terms of making it to the top cut? Were you X and 3, X and 4?
I was X and 2 going
Oh,
into
wow,
today.
sick.
So
That-
once
very,
I
very good,
beat
very good.
Sokka Will in that first game,
Yeah.
I could ID for the other 2 games and just take it out. I played a game out versus Jai, and the Jai's Asa was, I think, my worst matchup for the RA list in the top cut today, and so I'm lucky I did not hit him today.
Yeah, there was a lot of Asa decks that were
yeah.
just tech to like
Yeah.
basically stuff deep dives. We saw both the SF crew folks
Yeah.
and Jai's stuff too.
And they're like putting Chrysium in, like the number
Yeah.
of people just running a one of Chrysium.
One of Chrysium is very
in
popular.
a PE, for instance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And a
Yeah.
hard thing to play around
Yeah.
for sure if you try to
Yeah.
run central
Yeah.
servers. Do you have any shout outs again? I know your
Yeah.
meta is absolutely incredible. There's a
It
lot of
is.
traveling and
Yeah.
organized play.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to the camera, to the folks watching?
So there's a few people I want to shout out. First, yeah, as I mentioned, like Tuno and Lifeline for the R Plus deck. I worked with them. I'd love to chat more if they ever want to chat about it, because I did enjoy that a lot. I did come out to a humongous number of NANPC events this year. I think
did.
I was the most total attendee this
Traveled,
year.
yeah.
I went to 5 of them.
Wow.
I didn't intend to, but after I did well in Boston, I'm like, oh, I'm in the top 8 leaderboard. I need to keep going.
Keep going, yeah.
Yeah, so I want to thank everyone who ran an NPC event in particular, like Eric running the ones in Vancouver and Seattle, yourself in Montreal, Stephen down in LA, and I believe it was Not Again in Boston, and Jeff and all helped me out. I've done more pay-per play Netrunner, I think, this year than before this year.
Organized play this year has been fantastic. Next
NPC
year,
was amazing. Yeah.
no single games too. Whether NPC continues on,
Yeah.
I'm more
Yeah.
excited. But in paper play this year has had such a big resurgence.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're as
Yeah.
stoked as I think many people
Yeah.
are.
I also want to thank Sanjay in particular. As I said, I've never won a standard event before. I have won Ocarina before. That was my first win ever. That's what got me hooked on actually playing competitively.
Really?
Yeah.
Which ocarina was it? 1, 2, 3? What number are we on right now?
2 and
Okay.
3, I won both of those, I believe.
Hey, well done.
I think Will won Ocarina 1.
Okay.
That's how we met Will in Vancouver. He wasn't in Vancouver yet. We got chatting about this rebranding team combo deck afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And then he joined our Netrunner server in Vancouver to keep talking.
Oh,
And
wild.
then he got one point, he got a poll up. Should he come to law school in Vancouver or McGill?
No
and,
way.
And we talked him into...
Cannot even
Yeah.
fight for my
Yeah.
city. That's fine.
Yeah, but I will say that there's some people from Vancouver. I think especially Jason, Sid7, and Ryan Hams. I think the 2 people I tested the most with for some of these events. And like especially Jason really helped me make that R plus right. And Ryan really helped me figure out Jason helped me with the Arasana right through R plus. In particular, how to beat Essa with that, which was very, very uphill battle until you learn some very bizarre lines like double advances of Green Mail. You can't install enough cards early, and I want threat 3.
Oh, super cool.
Yeah. Everyone else from Vancouver who came out, Joe, I will call it Joe Solomir, who's judging today.
Yeah.
But I believe he might be the only person who put me in his bet runner, so he's doing well for that.
Well, how many points were you in Bet Runner?
I was off a field pick. I was a $1.
$1 pick. Pretty
$1
good
pick. Alec, who's always done this amazing job of running so many like Sindarin events in Vancouver, he consistently just is like TO. He runs new player events, just kind of keeps going. Started to like run a second event every week in my in my little area of town as well. So
Awesome.
it's just like so much easier to access it. Ian, who didn't make it out, a brick. Will and Brandon, of course, who both joined our Vancouver Discord and kind of got the competitive, blood into us there. I already mentioned Eric. Also Dave, who came down from Victoria and kind of the unofficial, satellite Vancouver office player. But yeah, it's been good.
Well, thank you so much. Again, it's been a wild weekend. I'm gonna let you go celebrate
Yeah.
because we still have a long evening ahead. But Alex, incredibly fitting World
Thanks so
Championship
much.
and such a great final. You can find the deck list and all this should be uploaded at some point. Maybe in the
Yeah,
future. You
it's
can wait a
wild.
bit for us to wind down here. but we'll be back in just a bit to do some final closing statements. But Alex, congratulations once again, and thanks for joining us. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to the World 2024 Championship. Just wrapping up for some final statements. My name is Andrej. I'm joined by Eric. How's it going?
It's going great. This has been an amazing night.
And of course, this is Jeff. You might know ysengrim, the organized play manager here at No Signal Games. This weekend's wrapping up. How you feeling? It seems like a good weekend.
To be honest, I'm completely shot, but it's been an amazing weekend.
Yes, you are.
No, it's been like, man, this has just been a great time. I'm so happy with like, everyone seems to have had, or just about everyone has had a fantastic time this weekend. The team, the volunteers, everyone has done an amazing job. Like truly, like everyone stepped up and gave everything they could, and like it shows, and everything went so like everything really did go so smoothly compared to, you know, how things could have gone if it was just me. And so
I don't know if we know this. At some point, the tournament software went down, and behind the scenes, Jeff and everyone are basically rebuilding a 204-person bracket on Jeff's own server where single side Swiss went up. The amount of work here. You've thanked volunteers off camera. I'm not sure if it was made up on the stream, but like there were so many people here in blue shirts and yellow shirts behind the scenes just making this thing happen. And these are all volunteers.
Yeah, there was over 30 volunteers this weekend, and that's not even counting the people that were working and couldn't on a bunch of things in the background, but couldn't actually make it to the physical space today. So, like, World is a huge team effort, and like once again, my deepest thanks to everyone who came out and helped, including the two of you and the whole stream team right over there.
Hats off.
Genuinely, like y'all killed it. And then I'm also so glad that like the estimate, we don't have an exact amount, but there's probably 250 total people between volunteers and guests and players. Like this has been a fantastic weekend, and thank you to everyone who came out. It really does make it worth it and amazing to see so many people come out, be passionate, be friendly, and just be one of the best communities around. So thank you all.
Netrunner is alive and well. It is like the lifeblood is pumping, and you can feel it in this room. This is my first Worlds.
Yeah.
And I can't believe how fun this was. I brought my friends out, and originally, a little bit not sure if they wanted to spend all the effort to travel, and my buddy Nick out there was just going, this was so much fun. I am so glad I came. So if you're on the fence, if you're in the area for the next Worlds, I imagine it'll be across the seas. But this is, it felt like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's so cool. It was so much fun.
It's been fantastic, and it's been a long weekend. All the folks who came out again, thank you to all the volunteers, people who are watching at home again. Hopefully you've had a fun show. We want to just do a quick sign off here. I'm super lucky to be asked to be part of these streams. It's been a couple years of World Championships, and everyone feels better than next. Again, I'm just absolutely overwhelmed. Do you have any shout outs specifically? I know we shout out a lot of people already.
I'm gonna shout out my wife again.
Yes.
She
Yeah.
has been extremely accommodating for me disappearing and planning for weeks and weeks and weeks. So thank you, Aaron. Genuinely, you are an incredibly important part of Worlds going off in ways that are difficult to talk about in many ways. So, yeah, of course, thank you to the volunteers. Thank you to so many just friends coming around and like bringing me food. Or honestly, also thank you to everyone coming by and saying, this event's going great. You rock. Again, I always want to stress it's the team, but like it is always great to hear that people are having a great time. So really, thank you to everyone out who's, there's so many different people to thank. It's just hard to do at this point, I think. So.
Very, very quickly before we sign off, I want to say thank you to NSG for including me in this process. This has been a dream come true for me, and also to thank my wife and my children, Allie, and my kids. I'll see you soon. Thank you for letting me come be part of this and play for several days.
And with that should be the wrap of the 2024 World Championship. Again, huge shout out to everyone here. There'll be another one next year. I think look out on the Null Citadel Games website. Next year is super exciting when it comes to organized play. Next year has some very big changes. So if you want to come out on a casual level, come up on the most organized, most competitive level, something like Worlds like this, there's a lot of opportunities next year. So with that, I think we might be signing out. World 2024 Championship here in San Francisco comes to a close. Hopefully you had a great time. I know I did. Thanks so much for watching. See you all in a bit.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.
See you next year.